This is Thomas. I'm currently hiding inside of a cardboard box. I find that there are a lot of things you can do with cardboard boxes. For one, you can adorn them with art. Apart from the video games themselves, and the countless memes they have spawned, one of the most iconic things to come from the Metal Gear series is the artwork. Specifically, these ones that originated from the Metal Gear Solid games. The first three of these had their box art illustrated in this inky, ethereal, almost abstract art style. Today, we're going to do a couple things. 1. Study the artworks as well as the artists behind them. 2. Break down its art style into something more digestible. And 3. Try our best to replicate it so we can draw something new in its style at the end of this video. So grab a drink, grab a snack, maybe even a calorie mate, not sponsored, wish it was, because we're going to be here for a while. Damn it! Looks like I've been spotted. Let's rendezvous after the intro jingle, alright? Oh, and by the way, welcome back to Render Breakdown! Whew. Glad I managed to sneak past the guards and make it back to the studio. Wouldn't want to do the entire episode doing that one bit. This episode was requested by a bunch of you. I also ran a poll to see which video game art style you wanted to see, and this was the winner. Don't worry about your picks not winning the polls. Everything I've ever put in there will be an episode eventually. You know, it's just a matter of picking out timing and the priorities of it. Anyways, with all that sorted out, let's jump right into things and talk about some important background context. These box art and promotional artworks were made by the artist Yoji Shinkawa. Shinkawa's background comes from working with a lot of traditional mediums such as oil paints, having majored in Western painting at the Kyoto Seika University. In a 1988 interview with the Japanese magazine The PlayStation, also known as Zapude, translations provided by Shmupulations, a conversation went as follows. Quote, "It sounds like you enjoy experimenting with different styles too." Yeah, finished, perfect drawings. I mean, they have their place and all, but I don't find much enjoyment in them. I actually like things that look a little rougher and finished or flawed in some way. To be perfectly honest, I can't say my drawings on the table here are really good. There's an unskilled, rough quality to them. See? I told you he was weird. The designs are all unified by your brushwork, Shinkawa. The thing about brushwork is, the lines aren't ever really perfect. It's different from pencil and pen in that way. When you paint with brushes, you always get some degree of unexpected lines from what you wanted to draw, but that's also part of what makes it cool. Beyond making concept art and promotional artwork, Shinkawa has also had direct influence on the game itself. He was responsible for the existence of the cyborg ninja, originally something that was never planned to be in Metal Gear Solid. Kojima liked his design so much that it was retroactively incorporated into the story. Other examples included Psycho Mantis' gas mask and even some of the map's layout. Kojima and Shinkawa working closely together really helped expand the vision of these games into a whole new level, defining what we now recognize as the Metal Gear franchise's visual identity. I've never actually tried one of these before, so let's see how it goes. Okay, little biscuits. Cheers. I mean, it's not bad. It's just weird and really dry. Today, we're doing something a little bit different because we're going to be making art traditionally on paper with pen and ink. Huge disclaimer, I'm not definitively saying that my analysis is correct. Everything I'm saying in this video is limited to things I have access to. You know, interviews, video footage, my own experiences with these mediums. I'm not a professional artist in the industry by any means. I'm just some dude who hyperfixates on things. I don't have access to Mr. Shinkawa himself, but you know, not for the lack of trying. I did send him an email, but obviously I didn't hear back from him. Not that I expected him to, but yeah, if you're an artist and you feel like there's information that needs correcting, then feel free to comment down below and maybe I'll pin your comment. And yeah, moving on. Let's start with discussing the medium. Luckily, there's a lot of interviews and video footage of Shinkawa out there where he discusses his tools. Primarily, Shinkawa makes use of brush pens. In these videos, you can see him using the Pentel Fude brush pen. He then likes to further define his illustrations with white-out liquid erasers. For these larger pieces, it's much harder to tell since there isn't any clear branding, but I will go out on a limb and say that similar to the brush pens, these are also some type of ink. This is because of the techniques he uses in this video. It reminds me a lot of Chinese ink wash paintings. You can also see how runny and drippy the paintings get. This wouldn't be the case if he was using paints like acrylic or oil. Similar to his smaller pieces, he likes to top it all off with some form of whiteout. On a different piece, I think he uses white acrylic paint instead. You can see how the thick white paint has left some brushstrokes on the corner here. Either way, my main takeaway from all this is that Shinkawa utilizes mixed media to accomplish his artwork, with the base illustrations being drawn with ink. Now, let's analyze the characteristics of the artworks themselves. Shinkawa's artwork in general is rough and sketchy. The line art part is pretty much non-existent. Instead, these artwork are defined through the shadows. When working in this style, you have to let go of thinking of details as lines. Think of them as shapes instead. You also don't have to go crazy with it. Simplify the details. The more abstract, the better. You can also see that there are parts of the paintings that are less opaque. We can achieve this by watering down our ink when painting. Despite all this roughness, his brushstrokes are controlled and confident. Shinkawa states the following in a Reddit AMA. Quote, "I think it's a good idea to write down the concept in words before starting to work on a painting. If you can't put something into words, you can't paint it. This is a quote from a famous car designer." End quote. While I can't find the exact quote he's referring to, I think this gives us a good insight into his thought process when making his art. Knowing where to place down shadows can be tricky. My suggestion would be to pick a single light source direction and think of the lighting as if these were overexposed photographs. This can help you decide which areas to block out. In terms of body proportions, they stay generally realistic, though heavily stylized. But I wouldn't say the same for the faces. I think that Shinkawa's work still has a bit of that anime look to them. You can see this in the way he draws eyes. This is especially evident with the way he draws women, but also with Raiden. And lastly, as previously stated, Shinkawa makes use of mixed media. This includes the digital art process, especially when it comes to coloring. While some of his older work does use markers, watercolors, and even charcoal pencils to do the shading, digital is definitely something he uses. Even some of these older artwork dating back to the original Metal Gear Solid wouldn't be possible without it. I'm 90% sure that this artwork is a digital collage, two separate traditional illustrations that are pieced together for the box art. These strokes wouldn't normally be possible unless you go out of your way to block out Raiden with something like tape. Plus, I think these textures on the shading were only added after the fact. Again, I could be wrong, but it really just seems this way to me. If we distill all of our observations into a material sphere, it would look something a bit like this. This art style can seem very intimidating, and it is, but in terms of the painting process itself, you can sit down and start painting and you can be done in 10 minutes. The hard part is getting comfortable enough to get to that point. I've never used brush pens before, so there was a bit of an adjustment period for me. I did a lot of sketches and paintings off camera just to get used to the feeling. You can sort of cheat this by making a very light pencil sketch before you start inking. This way, you won't have to figure out stuff like proportions on the fly. Still, the less construction lines, the better. This kind of muscle memory is something that's built up over years of practice. Unfortunately, I only have a couple of weeks. True mastery of the medium takes time. This is how Shinkawa is so quick with working. Let's talk about our tools. Here are the materials I used in this video. Pentel Fure brush pen. Papermate correction pen, liquid paper. Rotring drawing ink. A wide flat brush I bought from Ace Hardware for less than $2. For paper, I'm using a 100 GSM sketch pad. If you're making one of the bigger paintings, I suggest that you use a canvas instead, like Shinkawa does. I'm just using my sketch pad because it's easier to store in my tiny ass room. And lastly, for my digital art stuff, I've honestly been using a Wacom Intuos for like the past decade, and I've never felt the need to upgrade to a screen tablet, but mostly because it's super expensive and I can't really afford that yet. You don't necessarily have to buy these materials exactly. I'm a huge believer of it's not the tools, it's the artists, but it does need to be inked to be, authentic looking. And if you ever decide to post your Shinkawa style artworks online, then maybe share it on our Discord. Yes, it exists. It's a small but humble community, and you can get feedback from all kinds of different people. So yeah, check it out, and I hope to see you there, because I'm trying to grow the server, because it's like 5 people who talk there, max. But yeah, so I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 a lot. So yeah, my first idea was to make a portrait of V in Shinkawa's art style. The biggest challenge here for me is converting V's face into something more Shinkawa style. And by Shinkawa style, I do mean a little bit more anime, because I did try to draw V several times with like the realistic proportions, and it doesn't really look right. So yeah, I tried to slim his features a little bit, and then I made his eyes like a little bit thinner and a little bit like wider. I took a picture of it, put it in Photoshop, and then colored it digitally, and then I posted it on Reddit. Unfortunately, people really didn't like it too much, and I didn't really gain any traction much on Blue Sky either. It made me kind of sad, you know, it didn't really gain the traction that I wanted it to, but that's just life. You're gonna fail sometimes. So I gave it another shot and started to, you know, make a new concept. Alright, so my idea for the painting for this episode is to pay homage to one of the box art variant covers of Sons of Liberty. This thing looks cool and I just wanted to make something in the style of it. I decided that, hey, I could put, you know, V and Johnny in this scene, and so that's exactly what I did. So the first thing I did was actually make a pencil version of the whole thing, like a thumbnail sketch. I've decided that I'm going to draw V and Johnny separately, so here's the sketch I made for Johnny, and here's the sketch I made for V. Here's my first attempt at drawing Johnny. You can tell I'm not really quite used to it yet. I only used the Pentel Fude brush pen for this. I did draw this with the intention that this is just going to be the first pass, and I'm probably going to have to draw Johnny a couple more times after this. And so yeah, I guess it's more of exploration at this point. I haven't discovered the ink wash technique here yet when I was doing this, which is, you know, diluting ink with water. It's very solid, very black, and none of the whole washy effect yet. So I was pretty unhappy with the Johnny at this point, so I decided to give it another go. This time I wanted to draw Johnny a little bit bigger on the page because I felt like I left a lot of like empty space. Also, sorry about the shaky camera. My phone mount is mounted to the table, and whenever I move my hands, naturally the table would shake. I did try my best to stabilize this, but if you're a little bit dizzy from this, my apologies. So yeah, at this point I decided to try diluting ink, the Rotring drawing ink that I bought, and see if it looked, you know, nice on my artwork, and it did. And I didn't know how to like place the washed ink yet, so it's a little bit awkward looking here still. Also, at the end of this, I decided to incorporate like the whiteout liquid paper thing, and again, I'm still trying to explore how that would look like. I also managed to rip a part of the paper in this process because I used too much ink, so whoops, something you need to watch out for. And finally, on my third go, you know, I've had a bit of practice and I have a clear vision in my head on what I want it to look like and where to place the shadows. And so yeah, I built the piece with shadows in mind, and yeah, this is just me doing that. Okay, this is what Johnny looks like. I'm pretty happy with how it looks like. If I have any comments on my own work, I guess anatomy wise could be a little bit better, especially on the eyes, but whatever, you know, I think it does its job. So yeah, this is what it ended up looking like. I'm really happy with how this turned out. But yeah, let's move on to V. So for this one, it's more of drawing in the style of like the smaller sketch variants of Shinkawa's art style, because the way he draws the bigger art pieces and the smaller ones are a little bit different. So yeah, I think this is good practice for it. Whenever he makes a smaller artwork, something I notice is that he likes dramatic lighting, especially around the eyes where you can barely see the pupils. So I did just that for V. I honestly didn't expect to finish this in one go. I thought I'd be drawing more V's after this one, but no, I was pleasantly surprised with how I did this one, and I was, you know, like genuinely satisfied with how it turned out. So I decided to just, you know, fuck it, we'll use this one. And this is what my V illustration looks like in real life. Alright, that's our base illustrations. I'm super proud to be able to draw something traditionally as well, you know. I'm not just a digital fiend. I can still draw on pen and paper, even though I don't do it as much. But the fight isn't over yet, because we still need to color these in. Unfortunately, I don't have a scanner. All I have is my phone, and I didn't want to make a purchase. Well, I do, but I just can't afford it. But yeah, so I took pictures with my phone and tried my best to clean it up with Photoshop. And you know what? You know, it's pretty decent, I think. A bit of finagling around, but you know, I got there at the end. So here's just a time lapse of what I did to color Johnny in. I couldn't decide on what accent color to pick at first, so I went with like blue and then green and then finally settled on red. But yeah, my rationale for it is that that's the color of the relic from Cyberpunk, you know, the shard where Johnny is kept. Similarly, I did the same thing with V. And finally, I put them all together, and this is how it turned out. I'm really proud of how it looks. I know it's not like super perfect to Shinkawa's art style, especially when you put the original and my artwork side to side. It's a little embarrassing, but you know, I learned something new. You know, I've never used brush pens before, and it was genuinely so refreshing to go back to like physical traditional media and draw something. And I'm just glad that I have something in me still, you know? But once again, the fight isn't over, because I need to know what you think. And it finally got a lot of upvotes like I was hoping for. And you know, there's a lot of people who commented nice things. People requesting characters to be drawn. Maybe I'll get to them one day, but I'm pretty busy in real life, so we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm generally so happy to have people, you know, like my work, and I hope you like my work as well. So yeah, that's about it. I'm really glad I managed to turn things around and, you know, gain the attention that I wanted for these on Reddit. But yeah, you know, just a lesson that, you know, failing sometimes can lead to better things. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to download the project files for this, which is the base illustration plus the coloring on a different layer, then I will be posting it on my Patreon, which you can subscribe to for $2 a month, and you'll get access to everything. Technically for free, because I've enabled a 7-day free trial, so you can hop in, grab the files, and then hop out if you really wanted to. But you know, I always appreciate the support. Lastly, I do want to replug the Discord. You know, it exists. You can post your art there, and you know, there's a small community of people who can talk to you and stuff like that, and that's a more direct way of talking to me if that's what you're into. Other than that, you know, which video game art style do you want to see me do next? Leave a comment down below and tell me. And if, you know, if enough people comment it, then I will for sure do it. And you know, I see you people who vote for Persona and Disco Elysium in every one of my polls. I see you. You are valid. Don't you worry. But yeah. Thank you once again. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye. Peace. It's almost Christmas, but almost Christmas means it isn't Christmas. Ciao.